Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashishimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishiguru and Shigauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, entitled Liberation, Chapter 8. The sons of Sagara meet Lord Kapiladev. Text number 24. Prashantamaya gunakarmalingam anamarupan satasadvimuktam jnanopadeshaya grihita deham Namamahe Tvam Purusham Puranam Prashantamayam Gunakarmalingam Anamarupan Sadasadvimuktam Jnanopadeshaya Grihita Deham Namamahe Tvam Purusham Puranam Prashantamaya Gunakarmalingam Anamarupan Sadasadvimuktam Jnanopadeshaya Grihita Deham Namamahe Tvam Purusham Puranam. Please chant. Prashanta, O completely peaceful one. Mayaguna, the modes of material nature. Karmalingam, symptomized by fruitive activities. Symptomized by fruitive activities, sorry. Anamarupam, one who has no material name or form. Sat asat vimuktam, transcendental to the manifested and non-manifested modes of material nature. Jnana upadeshaya, for distributing transcendental knowledge, as in Bhagavad Gita. Grihita deham, has assumed a form like a material body. Namamahe, I offer my respectful obeisances. Tvam, unto you. Purusham, the Supreme Person. Puranam, the original. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O completely peaceful Lord, although material nature, fruitive activities, and their consequent material names and forms are your creation, you are unaffected by them. Therefore, your transcendental name is different from material names, and your form is different from material forms. You assume a form resembling a material body just to give us instructions like those of Bhagavad Gita. But actually, you are the Supreme Original Person. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. Srila Yamunacharya has recited this verse in his Stotra Ratna 43. Bhavantan evanachuran niramtaraha prashantani sheshamanoran ratantaraha kadaham aikantika nityam kinkara praharsajishyami sanata jivatam. Quote, by serving you constantly, one is free from all material desires and is completely pacified. When should I engage as your permanent, eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? End of quote. Mano rate nasati dhavato bahi. One who acts on the mental platform must descend to material activities. Material contamination, however, is completely absent from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His pure devotee. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Prashanta, completely peaceful, free from the disturbance of material existence. The Supreme Lord has no material name or form, only the foolish thing that the Lord's name and form are material. Avajananti man mudha manusin tanun ashritam. The identity of the Supreme Lord is that He is the original person. Nonetheless, those who have but a poor form of knowledge think that the Lord is formless. The Lord is formless in the material sense, but He has His transcendental form, Sachit Ananda Vigraha. Prashantamana Gunakarma Lingam Anamarupan Satasat Vimuktam Janopadesha Jagrihita Deham Namamahe Tvam Purusham Puranam. O completely peaceful Lord, although material nature, fruitive activities, and their consequent material names and forms are your creation. You are unaffected by them. Therefore, your transcendental name is different from material names, and your form is different from material forms, and you assume a form resembling a material body just to give us instructions like those of Bhagavad Gita. But actually, you are the supreme original person. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Shrimate Ropa Swami. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Just give me 1 second. So, these are the prayers of the Prince Ansumam to Lord Kapiladev. He's strongly highlighting the point through his prayers of the importance to understanding the transcendental supreme position of the Lord. And he's highlighting how that this personal conception of the Lord is not easy to understand. Is very difficult to understand for the conditioned soul. A conception of the absolute truth that is impersonal is much easier for the conditioned soul to approach. But a personal conception, very difficult to understand. He's explaining this in the context of the great mistake that the prince's uncles committed, the 60,000 sons of Sagaram Maharaj. So, in his prayers, he's bringing this out very clearly, constantly, throughout the prayers. And Prabhupada explains in the purport that this is the only means to achieve this position of prashanta. Prashanta means one is fully peaceful. And this position of peacefulness is when the situation, we can be peaceful when the situation is very settled and established, meaning that all the natural elements are there, that everything that you require is present. When something is lacking, then we're not peaceful, we're a little unsettled. It could be quite unsettled to a little unsettled. We're not settled when something that we naturally require is not there. when there is a scarcity of one of the natural requirements for the self, then one is not peaceful. So this position of prashanta, of peacefulness, Prabhupada explains, and the Prince Ansuman brings, is embedded in his prayers, that one have to come to understand this personal, this transcendental, personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That if that's not there, then there's no possibility of achieving this peace. And that also includes other transcendentalists that don't have a personal conception of the Supreme Lord, which includes the impersonalists. Although the personalists achieve something that is called Brahma Bhuta Prashanatma, they obtain happiness. The word Prashanatma and Prashanta means they have very similar roots, but they're different in the context of the prayers that Prince Anshuman is offering. The happiness that the impersonalists receive is this Brahma Bhuta happiness, is the relief of the suffering of material existence. So in reality, it's not the happiness of the soul, it's the happiness of being relieved of suffering, which is different. It's a lower level of happiness. It's relief. Prabhupada makes a very graphic example of someone who is being waterboarding, who is being hauled underwater up to the point that the person is just about to drown, and then pull out. And then when this person takes this, breathe air, then that is Brahma Bhuta Prashanatma. That is the happiness of being free from material existence. So it's a lower experience of happiness. It's just, you're relieved. So you're relieved. Sometimes, a gross example also that is there in the scripture is when you have a call of nature. You need to pass water, and you're holding, you're in a trip and you're holding, and then when you finally release yourself, it's like, what kind of happiness is that? It's like, it's not really happiness. It's just, but you feel that, it's like there's this side that if someone hears it, you say, wow, something really nice happened to this person. But no, there's nothing nice about it, it's just that. So that is not really happiness. When this verse that Krishna explains is Brahma Bhuta Prashanatma Sochatina Kanchiti. What is it in the chanting Kanchiti? Sama Sarveshu Bhutishu Mad Bhaktin Lavate Param. That at that moment, when one becomes that sense of relief from material miseries, and you start to experience what is the soul, the eternity of the soul, then one can start in a proper way to serve the personality of Godhead. So this Mad Bhakti, now devotional service can start. And that's in devotional service where we're going to experience the real happiness of the self and obtain the satisfaction of the self. And that happiness is what we're talking here when we're able to achieve that situation. When we situated in the happiness of the self, this yayatma suprashidati, this extreme happiness that is natural to the living entity, that's when we're peaceful. That's when peacefulness is there. That's what this word prashanta refers. So that can only be obtained in the position of bhakti. And it makes sense because even in our limited material experience, the happiness that people, the real sort of deep happiness that a conditioned living entity can experience, the best type of happiness, that we can experience in this material world, which is sadly a temporary happiness. However, it is an experience, is what keeps people going, is always in relationship to someone. Because it's the natural condition of the self. That we have to have that connection, that relationship with someone else. We cannot be isolated. We have to be in relationship to someone. And only within that relationship is that we have an experience of happiness. So, in the material world, the experience of happiness is temporary, asashvatam. When we achieve that eternal, uninterrupted, and unconditional relationship that is there with Krishna, then we're peaceful. So therefore, Anshuman prays to the Lord. First he addressed the Lord as Prashanta. So this quality of Prashanta of the Lord is the spiritual quality that is there in the living entity too. It's a spiritual quality. It's one of the symptoms of being situated in your eternal spiritual position. The prayer is that the Lord is not being affected by the material designations, and fluctuations of material energy. He's not affected by that. He's not affected by the bodies that are constantly changing. He's beyond that. He's not affected by, or better to say, he's not affected by the material nature that is constantly changing, because he's beyond that. He's untouched by that. He is not affected by the designations, because it's always transcendental. Material designations, because it's always transcendental. He is beyond the material nature. He's never touched by material nature. Although material nature emanates from him, which is Krishna, when he explains to Arjuna in the 9th chapter, he says, "Behold my mystic potencies. That his mystic potency, he says that although all this cosmic manifestation comes from him, he is aloof. So although is his energy, he remains aloof. So is the understanding of this Achintya Veda Veda Tattva philosophy that is simultaneously oneness and difference, the things simultaneously there. So, but the conditioned soul is affected by these two things, by designations and by the bodily conception of life, by having a material body. And therefore, there is a difference between the soul's identity and the bodily identification. So everything that it manifests in the material world is ruled by this duality. So there is a difference. Duality means there is two. So there's always this this separation, this Veda or differentiation. So the identity of the soul is different of that of the body. The material name or designation is different than the object. So there's all these things that rules the material world. What rules the spiritual world is that there is the absolute truth. So there is the relative truth and there is the absolute truth. The relative truth is the truth of the material world. Relative because it's always changing. So it's truth now, but tomorrow is not. And yesterday also it was not true. So it's a truth that is constantly changing. So therefore it's relative. It's relative to time. So the absolute truth is always truth. It never changes. So in the spiritual realm, everything is absolute. It is ruled by eternal time. It never changes. By eternity. Right here is ruled by time that is always, it's linear. You always make things change. So when we become free from this relative conception of life, and we understand the absolute nature of our self, then we also become prashanta, and that's what it says here. That Prabhupada, brings in the he quotes from Srila Yamunacharya, his Tota Ratna, that if we become to be prashanta, this prashanta, bhavantam evanucharam niramtaraha prashanta nishesha manoratam taraha. This is that we achieve the position of prashanta when we are completely free from this mental concoction that have to do, or the manorata means the chariot of the mind. We're not riding the chariot of the mind that is being guided by our material desires and our material conceptions. When we're free from that and we're completely situated in our transcendental position, then that puts us in prashanta. But how do we do that? Also by Yamunacharya, by serving you constantly. By serving you constantly, one is free from all material desire and is completely pacified. And then kadaham akantika nitya kinkaraha, when we engage in your devotional service. So being situated also in this position is the position that will allow us to be peaceful, to be happy, to experience the happiness that we're actually looking for. The nectar that we're looking for. We pray that, in Lord Chaitanya's prayers, Shikshastaka. What is it? Cheto Darapana Bhajanam Baba Mahadavanini Vapana. Sreja Kairava Chandika Vitaranam Vidyat Bhathu Jivanam. Anandan Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnam Brita Shradanam. That we're able to taste the nectar for which we're always hankering, the happiness that we're hankering for, we experience when we are situated in this loving relationship with the personality of Godhead. But for that, we have to understand Him. For that, we have to understand Him. So that's the essence of transcendental knowledge. The essence of transcendental knowledge is that we understand the transcendental features, the pastimes and the appearance of the Lord in this world. What is the verse? Yamma karma chame divyan evan yo veti tattvataha. If one is able to understand in truth the divine nature of Krishna's appearance and activities in this material world, then tyakta deham punarjamma neiti man eti sarjuna, we are guaranteed to become free from birth and death in this material world. And Krishna promised we won't come back again. So we come to understand Krishna's position. We come to understand Krishna's transcendental position. And we come to appreciate that how is that we come to understand that is because Krishna appears in this world to deliver to us that knowledge. Because it is He who delivers the knowledge. So the Prince Anshuman, he says that you assume a form that resembles a material body just to give us instructions like those of Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada explains that when he entitled the translation of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, because he was making the point that it's his mission to present the Bhagavad Gita to the world as Krishna spoke. Because he appreciates this. He appreciates that Krishna is God and His words are perfect. And that's how we obtain perfect knowledge. Because we receive in an unadulterated form the words of Krishna that He has come to deliver to us. That's why He comes to this world. And although He takes a form like Lord Ramachandra, like Lord Krishna, that resembles a human form, His form is not like the one of us. And that's given in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's form is transcendental. Sachitananda Vigraha. And therefore, when we understand him as he is, and we take his words as the absolute truth, is delivered to us by him, by his grace, and we follow those instructions, then we can come to this position of peacefulness. Prabhupada, I finish with this. Prabhupada gave the peace formula in the Krishna gave the peace formula in the Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada very pointedly he propounded that when people during the Vietnam War, they were trying. There's so many people that were trying to promote, a peaceful world, but they couldn't figure it out, because whatever they do to try to achieve peace was creating more problems and more conflict. So Prabhupada gave the peace formula that Krishna was, instructing in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktaram jagyatapasham sarvaloka maheshwaram shuhidam sarvabhutanam shantim man. What is it? Say it again. Yatto man shantim richati. That the shanti to achieve peace, one have to have these three pieces of information. That Krishna is the supreme enjoyer of all activities, all sacrifices, and all austerities. He is the ultimate beneficiary of this. And that second is that Krishna is the supreme proprietor of everything, of the whole cosmic creation. And the third is that Krishna is our supreme well-wisher, that he wants us to be happy. And he does everything, and he provides everything that is required for us to be happy. He creates a perfect system, although we come to this material world because we feel some animosity towards Krishna. He still provides a world in which we can play to try to be away from Krishna, but he makes this safe playground for us, in which he gives us a perfect arrangement, complete, in which we can actually experience material happiness, but regain our full spiritual relationship with him. So he gave a perfect system. That system is called the Ishavasya principle. And the same principle applies. Ishavasham sarvam idam. Krishna is the supreme proprietor, the owner of everything material and spiritual. And he has given us whatever, he provides for us whatever will be required for each one of us. And so everything, this tena tyaktena bunjita, that our quota is given. Everybody is given this quota. The elephant, Prabhupada explained, eats tons of food every day. He has his quota. The ant has his quota. We also have our quota. Each one of us have our quota. That is perfect. It's perfectly provided. So we can actually live happily in this material world. So this system is called vidya, or transcendental knowledge. So when we live in this system, Krishna says, or the Ishopanishad says, that we can live 100 years happily like that. One might aspire to live for 100 years if he continuously goes on working in that way. Which way? This accepting happily the quota and accepting Krishna's position. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. And then the Ishupani said, there is no alternative to this way for man. So no alternative means that's it. This is one of those black and white things. So there's no alternative. So one wants to be happy, peaceful, prosperous. There's no alternative. This is it. We have to learn it. And when we learn it, then we start to experience peace. Because then things will be taken care of. Any comment or question? Krishna Archana, you're thinking?
The definition you gave of of peacefulness, that on a material level, it's the idea of lack, or not having any lack, sort of, so almost it's by negation. And then from the spiritual perspective, peacefulness is more a kind of connection with Krishna, and a kind of profound acceptance of his arrangement, both in terms of what's allocated to oneself and of his position. So it's a very profoundly different concept of what constitutes peacefulness. Yeah, so I was just thinking about that more deeply, as I appreciated the comparison you made.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why in the Sri Upanishad, I think it says there is no alternative. The pursuit of happiness, besides this, is turn off the microphone, creating some feedback. Yeah, the pursuit of happiness different that what the Upanishad is recommended is the result is just completely the contrary. This is what it says. It's very striking when things are put black and white. In general, we tend to function in a world that is, that is more like a spectrum, not black and white. But when we bring things to the base, then you start to see the stark differences of things, more the black and white part. And in the Upanishad said that after saying that there is no alternative to this way for a man, he says, the killer of the soul, the next mantra, whoever may be, must enter into the planets known as the world of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. And the killer of the soul is the definition that is given for those who neglect by ignorance this path or this process that Krishna has given for human society. the killer of the soul. So, and as it goes, the Ishopanishad start to differentiate of living in this world of ignorance, avidya, and living in the world of transcendental knowledge, vidya, which is Ishavasya principle. So accepting this Ishavasya principle is living in the world of vidya, of knowledge. Doing something else, neglecting that, is avidya, and that leads you to the darkness regions of ignorance and suffering. So in reality, the happiness that we experience in this avidya is not happiness. It's just, there are moments of, it's almost like an illusion. It's like when people get drunk or intoxicated. It's an artificial moment of being elated or relieved or, happy or relaxed. But the price of that is that the next day you hit reality, but, with a body that has been diminished in its capacity to deal with, the reality. You destroying your body, that's the price you pay. So now you're more miserable because your body, your system is weakened. So, so that's life in the material world. It's like there's no chance. There's no alternative. So it's quite something when it's presented in such a black and white terms, Either you do it this way or you go down. And, one may say, wow, that sounds pretty extreme. But it's a reality. It's not fanatism. Like, say other religions take this fanatic approach that, is like, okay, either you do what God says or you go to hell forever. Which is, there's some correlation, It's like saying the same thing but with, not having proper understanding, not having knowledge, to back it up. So it is very deep. It is very deep. This is based on, the proper understanding. And the Upanishad is so beautiful that then it makes it in such a way that it's not, this is bad, this is good, never look at that. But it says something quite surprising when it goes, when it says that if you want liberation from this material world, then you have to take this avidya and vidya and cultivate them simultaneously. So, now, you take this material knowledge and the spiritual knowledge and you simultaneously develop them side by side. And by doing that, then you're able to achieve liberation. Of course, that's a very deep thing too, but it's not about, it's not about demonizing material life. It's rather understanding what is the purpose of life in this world is about self-realization. So that's when one starts to experience the happiness and the peacefulness. And I just end with this, which is I think I wanted to mention and I've forgotten, that from Yamunacharya, when he said this, Kadaham akantika nitya kinkara Praharsajishyami Shanata Jivatam. This verse was quoted by Ramananda Roy in his conversation with Lord Chaitanya. After Ramananda Roy said the verse that Lord Chaitanya accepted, the verse from Lord Brahma, the famous verse, that those who throw away the impersonal conception of the absolute truth and they become established in their position of working in this world and fully surrender their minds, to the service of the Lord. I can't remember the verse. Then after that, he quoted this verse of Yamunacharya, and when he says that when should I engage in your permanent eternal as your permanent eternal servant, and always feel the joyful to have such a perfect master. So the idea is that we do experience in the path of devotional service, we do experience those moments of peace and happiness. But because of our condition, it's not sustainable. As long as we have some material conception of life, then our experience of the happiness of the soul it gets interrupted. So the devotee prayer, just like Yamunacharya, he prays, when will it be that day? Srila Bhaktivinoda does also that. What is the song? Kabehabe bolose dinamar. That when would it be that day? When will it be that day that I able to fully be settled and peaceful at your lotus feet in loving service? So that's what we're looking for. I end here. Thank you so much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.